Hello again, and everybody. This is a painting video for a Fotis Mint model of the Joker. So I found it on Thangs, and there's a link in the description for you if you want to go and find this same bust. It was very easy to print. Printed it in one piece. I did have to hollow it myself and put some drain holes in it, but that was all right. I've primed it and filled it and sanded it and prepped it and undercoated it and everything off screen. I thought that I've done that many times, and there's plenty of people that have done that also, and so I didn't think it was necessary for you to see all of that. Started with a Scarlet from Vallejo and just printed his, sprayed the suit. This is a model that's a birthday present, and I have not seen the Joker movie, although I am a rather large Batman friend. Now I have not seen this particular movie, but the young bloke that this model's for really likes it. So I thought this would make a good birthday present. So after I'd done the red and dried it off, sped dried it, I started taping it up with some safe release tape so that I could then do the same spraying of the yellow and get the shadows in on the yellow. And then when I'd done the yellow, I did the same thing for the greeny bluey tealy shirt that he's got. I grabbed a whole heap of reference photos off the internet and printed them out so that I had lots and lots of photos to check what I was doing. Oh, wonderful, Pete, well done. I've managed to make it so that you can't see not a thing that I'm doing there. So because it was going over the red, I sprayed it white first and then sprayed the yellow on and did the yellow mustardy colour that his shirt is. I am trying to think of things that I was going to say in amongst all of this, and it escapes me at the moment. But this has been hanging around. The birthday was actually in June, and I didn't finish this model until last week in August. So I'm way behind, but I was quite chuffed that I'd managed to at least get it done when I'd done it, and it turned out really good. I'm very happy with it. This is the first time that I have used contrast paints. So after I've finished spraying all the base colours and then putting a little bit of shadows on it, I went back in with contrast paint to highlight some shadows, bring some more volume into the piece altogether. And having not used them before, I found them to be a lot of fun. Actually, it was a very good way to bring in to put some shadows on and to give some depth to the model without much effort. And yeah, it was good. After I'd done his clothing, I decided to mask up his neck and everything and spray the skin tones on his face. Thank you to Ground Affected, who I have watched for a long time, for the way that you do skin tones, both the ways that you do skin tones. I found his method to be really good, and the few models that I've done so far that have had skin tones that I've had to make look realistic have come up really well. So in the process of the reason I did this, even though he's the Joker and he's got makeup all over his face, I wanted to apply his makeup, because this is based on not a animated Joker but on a live action Joker. I was trying to make him look like he was skin toned, so I painted all of his skin tones and I painted his eyebrows and bits of him that are colours that are not skin tone, and in preparation for then later coming over and applying his makeup so that you see some of his eyebrows and some of his skin tones and stuff through the makeup, and I could make it look a little bit more realistic. So after I'd already done some of the shading with the airbrush, I thought still that the lines weren't defined enough, so I came back with some more. This is actually a shade from Army Painter, and I used a brown shade on the mustardy yellow suit. I used sorry, forgotten what it is. And I used the red one on. I used a grey. Griff Charger Grey is the word I'm looking for. I used Griff Charger Grey for shadowing in on the green part of the suit, and I used the blood red or blood something or other red contrast for the red suit. So here's some stills of where I got up to once the suit was done. Then I mixed two colours together to paint his brown hair. So I used a brown that I had, but I also put a little bit of a reddy brown into it to make it more the way that it seems that his hair is in all the pictures that I've seen of him, and just applied it with the brush. And I did a little bit with the brush on where it touches his forehead. I dabbed it a little bit so that it was a bit more spotty, a little bit sort of a bit of tonal variation in trying to make the hair not look so plastic coming out of a model. So, and I thought the effect was pretty good when I did it. It meant that when I paint the green later into his hair, there's bits of it that looks like the roots of his hair, the same as the pictures do from the actual actor when he was doing it. So I used a couple of brushes in sizes for this, a fine one and just a regular art brush. The fine one is a Vallejo one. It's I think it was 3.0 precision brush, and the other one is just a cheapy synthetic. So lots of the big bold strokes and the bigger areas on this model, I've used just a regular cheap brush that came in a set of 4 or 5. I am very strapped for time currently, so I was drying this with a heat gun all the way through. My technique for drying with a heat gun is to always leave my fingers in the road of the heat gun on the model. That way, if I'm getting too hot, I know that the model's getting too hot too, so that I don't start blistering things and set fire to my model or cause for it to shrivel up and die. Once I'd got the brown done on the hair, I noticed that the suits and things were looking a little bit flat, so I went back in with some more of the crimson contrast paint and just did a little bit more shading under his neck where his collar is, to give it a bit more shade, and underneath his hairline. So I did some reference from the picture of him reclining and had a look at the way the suit goes. I was trying to imitate some of my airbrushing, hence the finger tapping. So I smudged it out a little bit with my finger and with a cotton bud to make it a little bit more like it had been with the airbrush, because I didn't do it dark enough. But after this application of that and highlighting the lines a little bit, I then went back in with some of the actual scarlet colour that I used to start with, put some of the colour back into sections of him, and then did a tiny little bit of white with it, and did an edge highlight on some of just on the top edges to emphasize the color, the highlights and shadows. So again, just during the course of building shots. So that's with his hair brown. After the brown hair, it was time to paint the green. I did the green with a very bright, or not a fluoro, but quite a bright lime green, and I put a bit on and then kept using the brush past when I would normally do if I was trying to put a solid colour on, and also dipped it a couple of times with water in the water to spread the paint out. So this paint was going on extremely thin here. I was trying not to get it runny, but I was stretching it out because I wanted it to look like dyed hair. I wanted the green, that is the green in his hair that comes across, but from the production shots and the stills from the movie, you can tell that his hair isn't green, that it's actually dyed hair, and so I was trying to give the impression, the same on this model, that the hair was dyed and not just painted on. Did I get there? Sort of. I don't know whether there's a better way to do it, and it ended up still being a little bit solid in places and a little bit painty. Of all of the things that were painted, I thought the hair was the most painted-y bit. So, but I'm happy enough with the result. I noticed that on some of the pictures, there's a real, where the light hits it, it looks actually quite green. So I went over at the forehead and on the top of his head a few times just to put in the same sort of light reflection that there is in the painting. Picture's the word I'm looking for, in the pictures that I'd gotten printed out, that you can see I'm referring to all the time while I'm painting and making sure I'm making him look like he's supposed to look like. I didn't have any issue, but that was more good luck than good management. If you're going to handle a model when you're painting it like I'm doing right here, it's a much better idea to wear a glove so that you don't end up with, if you had sticky stuff on your fingers, pulling paint off, or if you have other life stains on your fingers like dirt and crap that you've been doing in the garden the hour before, you don't end up putting stain into your model. But with this one I did actually get away with it. Again, more good luck than good management. So I had to go to work in the middle of painting his hair, and therefore I had to come back and do the other side. When I'd finished him, I then got a sponge and some white paint. This is a basic tester pot, so it's a 500ml tester of house paint, which I find to be, one, very white, and two, good value. So I just used a sponge with a pair of tweezers and put it on, dabbed it on the same as you would as if you were applying makeup. Because I did it sort of like a dry brush. I got the sponge, but then I dabbed it out on the paper, and so it wasn't covering great, but it only added to the effect, I thought, because the edges, you can still see his skin through a little bit. And I tried when I was doing around his eyes and eyebrows and stuff to make it as white as it appears in the picture, but still have some of his personality from underneath showing through. So once I'd done the white, I dried it off with the heat gun like you saw, I think you saw. If you didn't, I must have stopped the video when I did that, because all of his face was done in one day, except for the highlighting of his eyes after I'd put his eyeballs in. So I followed the picture really carefully, referring to that a lot with the red. I have forgotten which red I used, but it wasn't the same red as his shirt. As you can see, I put some daubs on the page till I found the red that I thought was closer to the one that's in the thing. And then I also did the red underneath on the bottom eyelid of his eyes to help when I come in to do the white part of his eye. Again, thank you to Grand Affected for the way that he does eyes. I then used two different blues to make up the blue suit that I thought matched the blue from the movie posters and stills, and very carefully put his eyes on. And then I thought that was slow. I'm sorry, there was a bit where I showed you his face and it looks like it's still fast, but I thought I did one at normal speed instead of fast, but I might not have gone back and changed that. Anyway, there's stills at the end of it, so you can pick it up there. I then went in and redid his eyelashes in black, because looking at the photos you could tell that he doesn't have a lot of makeup around his eyes, and he didn't actually have the blue underneath. It only goes on below his eye and above his eyebrow. It doesn't go in underneath where his eyes open up. Oh, here it is. So there you go. Painted his eyeballs in as well. I think I did fairly well to get it's looking runny and streaky like his, and looks a little bit slapdash and haphazard, and I was very, very happy with the way the eyes turned out. Once again, thank you, your dad, at Grand Affected. So at this stage he's almost completely done, except for putting the little white dots, speculative highlights, into his eyeballs. And so I left it overnight, and the next day I should have turned that picture around the side too. The next day I put the speculative highlights in. Then I masked him up so that I could paint the grey. I wanted this to be concrete. I did a grey with just a colour called Concrete by, I think it's Army Painters Concrete, but it might be AK Interactive. And I put the concrete colour on. I liked it. It took a couple of coats in places to get it to not be streaky, but I thought when it was done that it was really, really flat, and I decided that the best way to make it more concretey looking was to spatter some colours, some other greys over it. So rather than just dry brush, so I masked up Joker so that I absolutely couldn't have an accident and go when I pulled the paper off. So there was no way for the paint to get in from any direction, and then I just used the toothbrush and did the old toothbrushy spatter bit with two different colours, a lighter one and a darker one called London Fog and one called, can't remember, but London Fog is deeper and the other one was very light. Once I'd dried them off, I also thought that they'd covered up the original concrete a little bit, so I spattered it on over the top again and brought them back a little bit, and then I proceeded to paint the words for the Joker using deck tan rather than the straight white, because of the white that's on his face and everything. I wanted the Joker to be a little bit more concrete. And then I got this is just touching up some at the back where I had a mark, and then I got some deck tan and dry brushed over the edges of the concrete and on all of the cracks. So it was just a dry brush, and I was very chuffed. Finally, there's some glamour shots, so I set him all up, and you can see my fantastic photo booth and everything that I did there, and take a shot and you can have a look at the still yourself. There you go. And this is how he turned out. The only thing that happened after this was I sprayed the whole thing with a matte varnish so that it would be more durable and can be handled a little bit without it. I don't expect it to be played with or things like that, but just in case it gets moved around and stuff so that it doesn't knock and chip, seeing as how it turned out pretty whiz bang. Yeah, so that was it. I hope that that's educational and fun a little bit. I had a really good time making this model, and I was really glad when it was finished. I think it was appreciated as a gift, and when I'd finally done it, I was sorry to see it go, but it was made to be what it is, so that's it. And I think he ended up looking, I don't know whether it's captured the image of the actual actor from the movie. I probably should go off and watch the movie now, but I was very happy with the way that the model turned out, and I think it looks, certainly from without having seen the movie, from the stills that I was able to work from, I thought it came out as a reasonable facsimile for the guy. So I think this is the last photo just of the base. Shows you the concretey bit, and then there's just the final still. That was the best shot of how he turned out with the eyes, but the one that I showed you just before was where I put it in front of the camera. I thought showed the eyes off better. Anyway, so that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful time, and I'll see you the next time I have something to show you. See ya.